Here is what he wrote on Twitter. Fellow liberals, if you are interested at all in crossing the aisle, you should consider following Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with him on much, but he's a genuine person who once helped me for no other reason than to be nice. He doesn't bend the truth. His intentions are good. That started a really big debate on Twitter that got pretty ugly. Here now on this and many other things tonight, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com. Ben, good to see you tonight. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so he wrote that. He then got a ton of heat all over Twitter from people digging up stuff that you wrote several years ago that you had since deleted or said that you regretted saying for one reason or another. And everything in Hollywood came at him. He's not a particularly well-known name, I don't think, to most people. Talk to me a little bit about that part of it, and then I'm going to put up some of his apology.
Yeah, well, I think that Mark's a nice guy. From what I could tell, he came into our offices a couple of months ago because he was doing a project about guns and gun control, and he wanted kind of the right-wing Second Amendment views. So he came in, we talked for about an hour and a half, and then he took off. I told him at the time that it's probably good that people don't know that we met, since folks in Hollywood are not particularly fond of people on the right, and any association with people on the right is not going to work out well. He sort of tweeted that out unsolicited. Like, I hadn't talked with him since that day, actually. And the blowback on Twitter was from a lot of his Hollywood friends, a lot of people on the far left. And just as we've seen many, many times, the sort of mob mentality rules on Twitter, and he promptly deleted that tweet after probably an hour or two. And then this morning, he put up a full apology. That was after I texted him last night, by the way, and told him that I didn't mind that he deleted the tweet, considering he still has to work in this town, and Hollywood isn't fond of people who are friendly to anybody across the aisle. He put up a full apology for ever having suggested that I was a nice person who had views worth listening to. So that was wonderful.
You said he got ratioed on Twitter. Explain what that means.
So what ratioed means is when you have a tweet that is liked more than it is actually, that is liked fewer times than it is commented upon. It's called being ratioed, which is a pretty good indicator that people are angry at you. So his original tweet got ratioed, and then his apology got ratioed. So he sort of got it both coming and going.
I mean, all right, let me give people a sense of what all this is. Let's put up what his apology said. So after he said, you know, Ben's actually a nice guy. We don't really agree on everything, but he's a decent person, and you might want to check him out. Then he comes back with this. So that tweet was a disaster on many levels. I want to be clear that I in no way endorse hatred, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, or any such form of intolerance. My goal has always been to spread unity, understanding, and kindness, but I am going to make mistakes along the way. So that was his mea culpa for ever having said that, you know, anybody might want to check you out. Then Tom Arnold, who just, you know, appears to want to weigh in on pretty much everything these days, said this. Put up the Tom Arnold tweet, because this is sort of indicative of the kind of heat that Ben got during this whole exchange. Just make sure none of these little F-ers jumps on my back. They're hair pullers. At Ben Shapiro, 5'2", looks and sounds prepubescent, but technically a man. So for purposes of brawl and all the kicks headed toward his teeth and face, he shall be deemed a man. Pray Tucker Carlson gets here. What is that? Where does this come from?
I have no idea. I mean, this is a guy who once had a tattoo of Roseanne Barr, so I can't speak to his mental health. But the fact that he is considered a member of good standing in Hollywood is pretty incredible. And again, what this really is about is that it wouldn't matter if it were me. I mean, if Mark Duplass had tweeted out about you, if he had tweeted out about anybody on Fox News, anybody who's perceived to be of the right, anybody who's perceived to be mildly conservative outside of people who have endorsed Democrats for 2018, he would have been ratioed just as hard by members of the left, and he probably would have deleted the tweet and then apologized for it. Amazing how in 24 hours I went from a nice guy with good intentions who tries to speak the truth to a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, which, you know, frankly, I'm getting a little bit used to, considering that everybody on the left assumes that everyone who is not on the left is a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe.
And you say that you often have people from Hollywood who listen to you. And my guess is that you said you hadn't heard from him in a while. He was probably listening to you, probably listening to the podcast, probably enjoying the show. And that may have been what prompted him to send that tweet that, you know, he now regrets and took down. But you say a lot of times you have people who are very famous who stop by, and you tell your staff, don't take pictures with them. You know, I want them to feel free to come and go, essentially, and not get heat for it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And I always tell them, the celebrities, when you come in, don't take pictures of yourself with me unless you want it publicly posted, because you never know what the blowback's going to be in Hollywood. I literally wrote a 400-page book about bias in Hollywood, so I'm very well aware about bias in Hollywood. I mean, I've had mainstream producers brag to me that they discriminate against people who are conservative in Hollywood. And the same holds true with anybody who's willing to reach across the other side of the aisle. I mean, even when I was on Bill Maher's show on HBO, Maher got flack for even having me on. That's sort of the way things work out here. And I don't blame Duplass for pulling down the tweet. I didn't ask him to make the nice tweet in the first place. I feel bad for the guy, honestly. I mean, he's sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place in that he made a decent statement, and then everybody on the left came down on him, and he still wants to work in the town.
All right. Then stand by, because we have a bunch of stuff that we want to ask you about. So double-barreled round tonight of Ben Shapiro coming up.
So today's Sunday special featuring Sam Harris. First, I want to remind you that you're going to die.
Sure.
And I'm just going to tell you right now, it's going to happen. I'm going to bash it with the club until you're dead like a baby seal on the ice. Eric Weinstein, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan. I disagree with them strenuously, and they're deeply intellectually dishonest, and they're immoral people who go around murdering their neighbors and raping their sisters.
The Bible, in my view, is the real repository of our moral wisdom.
I don't think I know how to fix my car from the Bible. I know how to fix my car from the Ezra Klein. I know how to have conversations from the Ezra Klein. I know what it is that makes for a good life from the Ezra Klein.
Well, there's no such thing as truth. There's just power. Principles of rationality and an empirical engagement with reality, that's not good. If we get to Mars and we're still worried about skin color, right, in a Martian colony, we've done something right. You have to negotiate these power differentials based on victimology, how many victimology points you have in this game. We're stuck simply trying to win points.
Let's do it. Conversation.
Conversations. Conversation. Conversations. Conversations.
Conversations.
Conversations. Conversations. Conversation.
Conversation. Conversation.
Conversations.
Conversation. Conversation.
Conversation. Conversation. Conversation. Conversation.
Conversation. Conversation.
Conversation.
Conversations. Conversations. Conversation. 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 Conversations. Conversation. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Go fuck yourself.